Guys, the queen has been summoned. Mariah Huq recently did a virtual sit-down interview with Carlos King, and I am here for it. For the first time in years, after her abrupt exit from the show and rumors of a lawsuit, Mariah is opening up. Will she tell us all what we've been longing to know? Will she be making a return? And then stick around to find out which two cast members that won't be returning for season 10. All that and more on the Kenya Williams channel. Hey cousins, welcome back to the reunion. Have I got a video for y'all today? The queen is back. Yes, it's like we spoke her up. After all these years of not seeing her, finally seeing her is everything, honey. Yes. Real quick though, before we get started, if this is your first time on my channel, I am Kenya. We hope you stick around, like, comment, and subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you're returning, welcome back. I missed you guys. And now that I got that out of the way, let's get back to why we're here. Y'all, when I got this notification for this interview, I almost fell out of my chair. I was so overwhelmed with excitement, but I just recall thinking of how refreshing it was to see her. I mean, after all these years, she looks the same, sounds the same, still the same Mariah we know and love. And I mean, it was all around refreshing because the way she left the show was a little unorthodox, if we're honest. So after I got over my manic fangirling, I could actually focus and get to the piping hot tea. So Carlos starts this interview off like he does with all of his, kissing butt. Y'all, I'm sure Carlos is nice in person, but he is just so shady to me. So everything he says gets a side eye from me. Now remember, when he sat in the interview with Quad and called her an icon, well, he turned around and did the same exact thing to Mariah. And I'm pretty sure he's been or has said some shady stuff behind her back in the past, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. Anyway, he jumps it off by asking Mariah how her whole producing journey began. And she said this.
So they initially came to me for Housewives of Atlanta season 2. The season they was casting Cynthia initially.
Oh, that's season 3 then.
Oh, season 3.
Yes, you're right. It was season 3. Yeah, you're right.
Season 3. Yeah. So they initially, and Aiden was like giving me pushback, which I was shocked. You know, he was like, "Yeah, how you?" And because this is still unscripted TV, it was a little different. And initially, different careers kind of turned their nose down at unscripted. I'm just keeping it real. And it wasn't in Atlanta. It was kind of still new in Atlanta. So to make a long story short, he was like, you know what? I want you to get back to what you love doing. I know you love TV, but this isn't right for us. I'm like, this is perfect for us. And then he was like, well, just tell the story that you've been telling, which is the truth. It was like living, working, and playing with the doctors and everything. So I started doing I did my own treatment. I was pitching. I had been pitching before then, once I seen the show, but I made it better once I saw Housewives and saw it evolve, because you see the evolution of unscripted TV, like as it goes by. So I just kept pitching. They told me no. They told me they would initially, when I went to Bravo, they said they would never when I went to the production company, they said Bravo would never do a show that competes with one of the top shows on their network, which is Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I said, well, they have a lot of shows that are competing with it. But what I wanted them to say is what they end up saying. They would never do a black show to compete. They already had a top black show. And that's the truth, out of Atlanta. That's the way they looked at it. And so I just pretty much said, okay, well, if they don't do it, somebody else will. It got better and better. I kept pitching to True Entertainment, Lauren Escalin, everybody, and it got better and better. And they eventually saw either we're going to work with them or they're going to be a hellified competitor. So I pitched for years. I did for like 3-4 years, came up with this treatment. I did several, I don't know how many video. I pitched it, made it better and better and better. Put my own money behind it, just got with different production companies. I did, got picked up by TLC. Lifetime loved it and made the choice to go with the production company I went with because they had the relationship with Bravo, and I knew that Bravo could reach the households and the audience that I felt like we needed to reach. So once I started getting the offers from Real Housewives of Atlanta, to be honest, that's when the tone changed. It was almost kind of like, come here, do this instead of doing that. And so that's what kind of, the more money, I love y'all and I wanted to be on there, but I just felt like I needed to stick with my own thing. So
no, and I think that was
road.
smart.
And thank you, Jesus, she did too, because without her vision and determination, we would not have the show we know and love. But then Carlos goes on to ask Mariah how she felt about her name not being listed as a producer in the credits. And she said this.
The first season, is when I was only like an associate producer on there. It hit me real different because you have to think, with my story, the whole reason why, my whole purpose was to see my name and to create a legacy, and to see the credits meant everything to me. They really, truly did. Because it's like a man loving you in the dark, but he don't want to bring you out in public. Like, I had done everything. I had created the show, cast every one of the people on there that you saw first instant. So for me, I knew how hard I had worked, and to see, so it was really tough. It was really tough. And that's when I was like, hold up, wait a minute. And then took a step back, had to regroup and figure out the best way of approaching it without burning bridges and taking away from what I had worked to build. Because I think sometimes people do things to evoke emotion so that you cross yourself out. So I took a step back. It was really hard, though. When I saw all the work I had put into it, everything, and initially didn't see my name, because that meant everything to me. And I think sometimes people minimize it. And it comes so hard as a minority. Nobody gives you anything. Mm-mm. So for me, it was just a whole different level of disrespect. Honestly, because I felt like I had worked hard, and people love to say, well, you didn't negotiate this. No, it don't work like this. This is a different type of industry, and people the corporations kind of bully their way and do whatever they want to do. So I felt like I had done everything right, to be honest with you. We've always crossed our T's and dotted our I's, had a great legal team. So I was really, it was a lot. It was a lot nonetheless. But the one thing I tell you I did right was being on the show, because initially I wasn't going to be on the show. The first time I shot the show, the first time I shot Married to Medicine, Doctor's Wife. So I wasn't on it, and everybody said, "Well, you're a doctor's wife. Why wouldn't you be on it?" But see, I thought I would be biased, so I wasn't on it.
Now, let me just say this myself. I agree when people say that Mariah was done so wrong by the cast. Yeah, sure, but even worse by Bravo production. I believe she could care less what the women on the show have to say about her, but Bravo was really messing with her dream. I mean, how you gonna allow this lady to pitch herself to you for 3 years, reject her, then turn around with your arms wide open once you see it taken off? What kind of back then didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me, bald-headed mess is that? And didn't stop there either. They got the nerve to snatch and run away with her creation. I don't blame her frustration, but I do appreciate her class about the situation. I really do. Anyways, moving on. I knew it was only going to be a matter of time before he brought up Quad. In fact, I was gripping my seat with anticipation. He wants to know this.
How do you feel when people say that the show changed the moment you felt, allegedly, that Quad was becoming the star of the show and you underestimated her star power?
I think that's probably one of the most insulting things you have to keep in mind. Quad was my best friend. Like, I saw something in her. I'm not going to even go there, but I'll just say she wasn't living the life. She'll say it. And it wasn't about any of that. I saw something in her. And each one of those women has something different to me that I thought was valuable. If I don't have to have it's too much sometimes. So I saw something in her, and I wanted to share the stage with all of them, but especially her. That was the last thing that I ever, and still, like to this day, that's just not, I never had ill will. Envy, that's just not my spirit. I've never been jealous, or I was able to share my dream, because that's what it was, with each and every one of those women. I wanted us all to build something together.
I think as viewers, myself included, mostly me, were expecting a little shadiness in her response, but no, very mature, and I can appreciate that. Something about getting older, the forgiveness gets easier, and the bitterness doesn't linger as long. For your basic things, of course. Now, if someone runs over your dog or smacks your grandmother, that's a different story. But with petty arguing between us women about who said what, it's not that serious. I'm glad she's not dwelling on it though, even though I secretly wish we could see that old catty Mariah. Not gonna lie, lie because we missed her. Anyways, he then asked her this.
So when people say that you treated the show like it was yours and that these women worked for you and that they were on your show, what do you say to that? Because a lot of rumors were Mariah think it's her show. She says it's her show. We work for her. And
I never treated them like that. You know what? I didn't feel that I'd done that. I felt like I always shared it. I think if I had to do it all over, I've learned a lot of things, but the one thing I did well was calling myself the Queen Bee. It was never about those ladies. Those were not my counterparts. And that's the thing that people don't get. The first season, like you said, my name was not in writing as creator or executive producer. So I was sending a message and people start asking the right questions. There's only so much you can say. It was never about the women that they worked for me, but this is my shit. This is, just keeping it real. Like, you created something big, and I saw what was happening. Had I not said that, I would not have been on season 2 or season 3.
He then follows up with asking when did she get her just due by getting the producer credit. And she said, Season 2, I was co-EP. And then season 3, I was creator, executive producer, and on. And for the lifetime of the franchise, of my franchise, she's always executive producer on all the shows. So it's been a fight. But hey, God is good. What God has for you is for you. He then wants to know if the credit changed the dynamics within the friend group, and she said it created division and they saw her as an enemy. Yes, it changed, she said, but not in the way she wanted. She said it didn't really bother her, but the outcome wasn't what she hoped. And that's unfortunate because we all seen how they all started treating her. In our normal people world, I believe we refer to that as hateration. Not saying it was, because I don't know what these women are feeling, but it definitely came off that way. Moving on, he then wants to know if it changed her relationship with the producers. She said this.
Yes, but I didn't see it then. Their intentions were always the same from day one. I just didn't know it. I didn't know it. And so, yes, it did. I think they always looked at me a certain way, but it's like what you say, you know what? They don't have to think you're smart, or they may not see you come. You may be the sleeper. But they knew then that me telling my story was going to be powerful. They probably didn't bank on it going the way it did, but it went into, I think what God has for you is for you. I stand by that. I really, truly do, and mean it. I'm a true testament of that. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So yes, it did. It really, truly, and I hated that.
She then followed that up by saying, although she was phased out of the show, she wasn't fired. Her contract instead ran out, which family members on this channel, we already knew that. For those of you who don't know or haven't yet, please go check out my Mariah Huq video. That should get you all caught up with the lawsuits and all that, and you're welcome. But anywho, she went on to say that her main focus was always the producer side. She cared more about that more so than the cast side of things, but she most definitely felt they phased her out and said she believes they didn't really want her to have much power. Now moving on, Carlos decides to mention Dr. Heavenly's name, and I want y'all to pay attention to Mariah's response to Heavenly's name versus her response to Quads, because y'all remember with Quads she kept it cute. Just watch this.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Dr. Heavenly, and I'm honest. And the one thing about me is I'm honest to all my friends and
That's your friend? Oh, that's what we doing now. That's your friend. I'm just joking.
I love the girls.
Listen,
I love you.
Oh, that's what we do.
I love y'all. So I was talking to Dr. Heavenly one day.
Now it's y'all, honey. Now it's y'all. You see, we get grouped in together now.
Don't do it.
It's y'all. Ooh,
Mariah.
Yes, the shade of it all. Okay, come on. What did she say now?
Don't do it, Mariah. Now, I stand for you. Don't do it. But I remember talking to Dr. Heavenly once. She invited me on her YouTube show, right? This is maybe 2 years ago. 2 years ago, during the pandemic, I said, and y'all can find the tape on YouTube, I told Dr. Heavenly, Married to Medicine is a fantastic show because all of you guys work well together on that show. It's a true ensemble. And what I don't want y'all to do is to remove anybody from the show because it'll mess things up. And I said, I know there's some issues with Mariah because I hear things. I said, at the end of the day, Mariah is married to medicine. Quad is married to medicine. Dr. Hef, like I'm going to give people their props. I said to her, whatever you do, if y'all remove Mariah from that show, it's not going to be the same. And I'm going to go on record saying this. It hasn't been the same to me. You're missed on that show. And that show needs you.
Now, I wasn't really feeling the first part of what Carlos said because he was not gung-ho for Team Mariah like he said he was when he was on the interview with Heavenly. I did a video on that one too, go check it out. But I do, however, agree with the fact that Mariah is missed and the show isn't the same without her. Carlos then goes on to express his favorite season, which was season 6. Mariah, however, expresses that that was the season she hated the most, basically giving the reason being because it was the complete opposite of everything she had in mind and stood for when creating the show, hence the name Married to Medicine. In that season, you had the divorce of Quad and Greg, as well as the infidelities of Dr. Jackie's husband, Curtis. She said it was a sad season for her and the one she disliked the most. And she stated that she was devastated when she received the treatment she did from the ladies in the cast. And had the shoes been on the other foot, she would not have done the same. She said what it all boiled down to was it was a part of life. And although she didn't like the outcome, she trusted God and what happened was meant to be. When asked if she kept in touch with any of the women, she said no. And that because of legalities and other things, they don't speak and she understands. When finally asked if she would return to reality TV, she says this.
On an ensemble?
Would you?
Depend. I'm gonna be. The break I had was amazing and I needed it. I don't know. I would never say never, but I don't have the desire. I want to do something big. I don't mind doing unscripted, but the ensemble scares me. Because, and let me tell you why, because people do anything on the way up and on the way down. It's so when you're comfortable, you need to be just that. And I am very comfortable. So it scares me about what other people will do, with it. But I never say never. Because, who knows the next chapter.
So there's hope, because that was kind of like a soft no and a maybe. But aside from her talking about her husband and kids, that pretty much concludes that interview. And although I didn't get the full satisfaction of my wildest dreams of her returning, I did really enjoy the sit down. Just seeing her face and her version of things brought back so much closure and peace. Let me tell y'all though, I will never give up on the day she returns to that cast. Anyways, speaking of returning cast, I can tell y'all who won't be returning. In our next part of the video, which was initially only going to be about Mariah and Carlos, I received a notification from ET News that cast members Contessa and Anila would not be returning. Now, these were the two weakest cast members as far as storylines, and I'll admit I knew Anila wouldn't last. I've literally said that in I don't know how many of my videos. But Dr. Contessa, yes, her storylines have been questionable lately. And yes, I've stated in the past that I wasn't sure how long she would last on the show, but this was out of nowhere. According to ET Online, Anila and Contessa will not be rejoining in season 10. And with this sudden change, there's more likely a chance that Phaedra Parks from Real Housewives of Atlanta will be joining the cast. I hate to say I told y'all so, but I did. And I knew they need to clear the roster a little before Phaedra could be added. And I even went so far as to name who she likely be replacing, which I said was Contessa or Anila. Not just because of their storylines, but because they're the newest of the crew. And now to find out they're both leaving an extra space for what many have speculated to be Dr. Greg and his fiance. And I'll even go so far as to say I don't think Audra is coming back either. She did just have a baby and may want to focus on being a new mommy, but also her storyline was drier than a Popeye's biscuit, but who knows. Anyways, the article goes on to quote a statement from Anila, and that reads, "The truth is, only half of the rumors are true. I won't be on the upcoming season of Married to Medicine, but I won't be gone for long. I have been working on some projects that will give me the full opportunity to continue to share my life journey, family, and my Indian culture. My story continues whether it's filmed or not. Thank you to my loyal fans for the support. I have a lot to share with you all very soon. Stay tuned." She also added, "Married to Medicine was an amazing opportunity, and I am excited to build off of the platform I have been given. Thank you again to Bravo TV and TV by Pop. Can't wait to share what I'm working on next. The best is yet to come." And it appeared that Contessa has yet to respond to ET when they asked for an official statement. win. So where does that leave us right now? Roster wise, the lineup is as follows: Dr. Jackie, Simone, Heavenly, then Quad, Toya, and 2 more who we can only speculate upon. But stay tuned for my next video so y'all can see who I believe will be replacing these 2 women. I know this video was a long one, so we'll conclude it with, I want to know what you all are thinking. I know I just laid a lot on y'all at once, but I have to know. Was Mariah's interview refreshing enough, or do y'all expect to see more of her? Do y'all think she should change the colors in her house from that red and yellow? And what about the new season mix-up news? Are you guys as happy as I am about Anila not returning? Are you for or against Phaedra joining? Let me know down below, cousins. After you comment, if you haven't already, please subscribe, then like and share if you care. Until next time, bye.